Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. This week we're going to do some therapist response to Reddit Am I the Asshole posts, and they're all of a queer nature. As a fun little twist, this time I haven't actually read these prior to doing this. I'm hoping that I am not getting myself in a ton of trouble here, and they've been picked by other people. Here we go. All right, this one's kind of long. I'm probably going to skim through it as we read because you don't need to hear all of this information. Am I the asshole for expecting my girlfriend to pay rent in the house that we live in together? A bit of background. My girlfriend and I have been dating, not married, for 3 years. She's 3 years older than me and has 2 degrees from 2 prestigious universities compared to my 1 bachelor's from a state college. We started dating at the tail end of our college careers, back when we both had mediocre jobs. When I began my first adult gig, I felt a shift in our relationship, as if she was envious on how quickly I was able to advance. Needless to say, I ended up leveraging my contacts and helped her to get a similar position with way more pay than what she was making before. Okay, I already see some flags, but we're just gonna keep going. As I continued advancing, I was given significant salary bonuses. When I brought in more money, she said that I could be her sugar mama now, and I can't wait to be a stay-at-home mom. Every single time, I'd follow up with my own comments along the lines of, I'm not into that kind of relationship. I assume that refers to sugar mama. I want us to be 50-50, and maybe you could start applying for promotions or positions for your own work to get a better paying job. Okay. Prior to a home purchase, we sat down and discussed we both stood financially and how buying the home would play out. We quickly realized a few things. Number 1, she did not have a significant savings. Number 2, she did not have good credit. And number 3, she had overwhelming debt that I had never knew about until this conversation. After a moment's bickering, I made an executive decision to go in on the home by myself and mentioned that in doing so, she would have to pay me rent in exchange, and she agreed. The home was purchased. We moved in a week ago. It's in my name only. And then they include the mortgage amounts. The writer asked for a little less than half for rent from her girlfriend. Then they had dinner one night and she explained that she was frustrated. The girlfriend explained she was frustrated with the homeowner, said that asking her to pay rent caught her off guard, and that paying rent to live in the home that they lived in together irked her. I was shocked and felt instantly uncomfortable, then drew back on the conversation that we had when she agreed to pay rent. In short, her rationale was this: I don't believe in paying rent in a house I don't own, and we're partners. Maybe one day we'll be life partners. It shouldn't have to be about money all the time. I feel like she's manipulating the situation. Am I the asshole? Oh, okay, let's start off with a bang. Yeah, you're kind of, you kind of both are. And you're also both not. This is the problem with therapists answering these things, right? It gets complicated. Neither of you are operating with a full understanding of what the other person wants and expects. That much is clear. There's some statements in here that do give me a little bit of pause. The statement of, needless to say, I ended up leveraging my contacts and helped her get a similar position with way better pay than what she was making before. I'm confused. Needless to say, like, of course you would do that. That sounds like the situation where, like,
I'm gonna help a little lady out because she can't do it herself.
You also are very clear about the fact that you, writer, have an issue with the fact that she has 2 degrees and your lowly state university degree got you all this money. You are comparing yourself. You feel negatively about where you got your degree from. You feel negatively about where she got her degrees from. And you feel kind of smug about the fact that your degree has afforded you more opportunity financially than hers have. Here's the thing, y'all. That can be really important for people, and finances are really difficult. That's why that honest conversation really has to happen multiple times over and over again. I've bought homes. You don't go into it without any idea until the day you close about how much the mortgage is going to be. So the conversation about how much the mortgage was going to be and how much you expected her to pay should have happened before you moved in. You were planning on buying the house. The bank has given you a loan for the house. You can afford the house on your own. The fact that you were looking for a house together and then you decided to do it yourself is another power play. That's another move that just kind of puts you in charge and puts you at the top. That screams again to me of some discomfort, some self-esteem issues maybe, and just the general idea that you need to be in charge, but also then you resent when she treats you that way. that's an internal struggle. That's not really her problem. It does sound like you have different motivations in life, and it does sound like you have different things that are important to you. She says she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. You're saying that's not going to happen. Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Do you want no one to stay home with the kids? Lots of couples do finances separately, and that's totally fine if that's what works for you. The idea behind doing your finances separately isn't inherently problematic. The thing that's problematic is your attitude about your girlfriend along the way, and the lack of communication skills that you have together are coming off pretty clear if I'm to believe the way this is written. Okay, I said I was going to answer whatever's put in front of me, so here we go. We're doing this. Is it transphobic for a Muslim woman to want to cover herself in front of a trans girl? This question arose after I saw an Am I the Asshole post about this. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it was something like this. A Muslim girl wearing a head covering was in a group of friends, and they asked her to take it off, and it should have been okay because they were all girls. The Muslim girl was about to show her hair, and a trans girl showed up. She said she's no longer comfortable showing her hair. She did not misgender the trans girl, but many people started to point out that she was an asshole for not seeing the trans girl as a girl. And they put in here this religious context. Muslim women have to hide their hair and body from men because it's considered their beauty, and it's only to be seen by relatives or their husband. And in reality, they don't really acknowledge like bisexual or lesbian women, and so that doesn't really get included in that assumption. Is it transphobic if a woman is okay to show her hair to a bunch of cis girls but not a trans girl? Really stepping in it today. Yes and no. As a cis person, tend to think that the word transphobic is misused sometimes, and I think pointedly so, you know, to make a point, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm kind of here for that, actually, to really the shock value of the statement, but it does inherently reflect an understanding that a trans woman is not a woman. And make no mistake, trans women are women and trans men are men. The way that you treat people who are trans indicates in reality what you think about them on a humanistic level. If you find it difficult to treat people who are trans with human kindness and dignity, that speaks about you. I'm going to make some assumptions here, obviously, because I don't know these people. If she's Muslim and she's wearing a head covering and she's living in the US, which it sounds like that all of those things are true, her wearing of the head covering does depict probably a familial push towards being Muslim, towards the things that they're supposed to do culturally and society-wise and religiously because of those beliefs. And then because of that, the actual understanding of what it means to be trans is not there. Maybe she's not exposed to many trans people. Maybe her parents are openly speaking against trans people at home or in public even. The fact that being trans is not really recognized in most Muslim spaces, it does connect very similarly to conservative Christianity. They do not recognize the autonomy of someone to dictate who they are, instead would rather rely on genitalia and or what the situation was when you were born. And that's kind of where they see it stop. And that is very true for most conservative religious followers, traditional religious followers of many religions. And so the issue here is the act itself is anti-trans. Yes. Is she being intentionally homophobic? Is she not? Does that matter? I don't know that any of that necessarily matters. The bottom line here is that it does in fact show a lack of understanding of what it means to be trans on this girl's part. Now, if it were me and it were one of my friends, and even as a teenager, I believe I would have had that conversation with them and said, you know, by you saying that, by you doing that, this is what you're saying. Are you comfortable with that statement? Maybe even before I were able to give the label of transphobic or not to this situation, because I do believe that intent in this situation matters. I don't think intent matters when it actively harms someone. So if you were to tell me that this trans girl knew that it was happening, I would have a different opinion on it, because the amount of harm that inflicts on someone isn't retractable always just because you didn't know. All right, let's hope number 3 is an easy one. Am I the asshole for saying that being LGBTQIA+ and a person of color are not the same? me, Asian American bi, my friend, Black, Native, and gay, non-binary, who we'll call red, my other friend, blue, who is white and a lesbian, had a discussion towards the end of the year. I don't know how it started, but I recall Blue saying that the LGBTQ and people of color have it equally hard. I knew where this conversation was going, so all I said was, let's not start trauma Olympics, okay? But Red wanted to say something else. Basically, here's how it went. Red, that's just not true. Blue, yes it is. LGBTQ people get assaulted in public for just existing. Red, yeah, that's true, but so do people of color. We have for years before being gay was even heard of. Blue, well, that was in the past. I'm talking about now. Transgender people can't even choose their own bathroom. Red and Black people couldn't either back then. From that point on, I kind of drifted away because I'm non-confrontational, but Blue said something that lit me up. Blue said, I'm talking about now, currently. I could get killed for loving other women. If you guys were straight, it would be different. I voiced my distress about being Asian American to them during the pandemic before, so this struck a chord. And I told her, Blue, you're white, you're a cis woman. You can go out in public, and when danger arises threatening your sexuality, you can tell them you're straight. We can't do that. We can't pretend we're white if someone wants to hate crime us for our race. She got mad, said that she accused me of thinking the LGBTQ didn't have it hard, and how I was trying to erase her struggle. I said that's not true. I was trying to show her that LGBTQ and people of color are on different playing fields and shouldn't be compared so shallowly. I didn't want to say this to her face, but I thought she was letting her white privilege get the best of her and not hearing us out. It's been a sensitive topic ever since. Fun fact, a couple times on this channel when filming, I have had a conversation with y'all about intersectionality. And each time I've taken it out because it felt like it took the focus off of what was being talked about as a topic. And we're not going to do that this time, so we're going to talk about intersectionality. The act of oppressing anyone based on characteristics that you've arbitrarily chosen are inappropriate or not to your liking is always problematic. I'm a white cis woman. I am also in a relationship with a woman. And so when we go out, we have to regularly decide, are we going to hold hands? Are we going to kiss? Do we call each other babe? Do we call each other by our first names? What do we do and how do we do that? And who are we safe to be around? That is a regular conversation that we have when we go into different spaces. It happens all the time. There's no way to get away from that. I feel like most of my straight friends don't understand that. So there's that, right? That's being part of a marginalized group. I get to choose. I get to choose because we can just go out and not hold hands, right? We can go out and just call each other by our first names and tell each other we're friends and not have to worry about that. And it feels inappropriate and incorrect and real yucky inside to do that, but we get to choose. Someone who is visually of a different race than me does not get to choose that. Somebody who has a very clear disability doesn't get to choose whether or not they show that to people. The only way to choose that is to not be around people. The tension that we hold in being part of marginalized communities as being a woman, you're part of a marginalized community in reality. And I don't even want to say there's different layers in that. The experiences are so different. They're not comparable. While I, yes, am in two areas part of a marginalized community, I am also part of the majority in others. And I realize that when I walk into a space that is not my own, when I walk into a space that is not, I don't know, full of white queer people, I can for some become the symbol of the people that have been for so long making these people fearful, making these people feel othered just because of who I am. And I have to accept that because I live in this world, right? I understand that. I don't like it. And sometimes it frustrates me. Sure. But so I can be frustrated. It's fine. That intersectionality of being part of a marginalized community and then also being part of the majority at the same time, it's a tension that's uncomfortable to hold. But also it is uncomfortable for people who are living in situations where their otherness is very obvious to the people who would make them targets. It's not the same situation. I do not have the same situation because the things that make me othered in general, I can leverage to not feel othered. The ultimate thing that I'm saying here, though, is that it is never helpful for any of us to compare our marginalization. What we should be doing instead of competing for who's most oppressed, we should be doing everything in our power to lift each other up. It is never, ever okay for someone to make it seem like someone else's pain is not enough pain to count. But it also is absolutely ridiculous for those of us who do have choices and who do live in some areas in the majority to pretend like we, on an equal level, feel what other people feel when that is not the case for them. Whew. You made me work for it today. If you want to check out some other ways that I have interacted with Am I the Asshole threads on Reddit, go ahead and check this out right here and let me know what you think. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.